Hi there, I'm Brenda. Welcome to my channel. Since I'm going to study the master degree in Perth, my husband and I arrived in Perth in the middle of December 2022. So I would like to share with you what I experienced in the first month living in Perth. So in this video, I'm going to talk about accommodation. Without further ado, let's jump right in. My husband and I plan to see the suburbs in person before entering a rental agreement. Ideally, staying in some areas in order to see which one suits us the best. So we only booked for 3 days accommodation in advance, which was located in South Perth. During the first 3 days, we're just getting to know the rental system in Australia. So we plan to stay at the same place for another week. Unfortunately, all the rooms were fully booked at that time, and we needed to return the rental car a few days later. So we chose to stay at a hotel in the CBD where we can use the free cab bus system. During the first week staying at a hotel in West Perth, we sent out a lot of inquiries, attended a lot of inspections, and submitted a couple of applications. However, all of them were unsuccessful. I feel really upset when I was rejected by my first application. But gradually, I began getting used to the situation. I already aware it might be difficult to succeed in a rental house or an apartment before I came to Australia. However, it was not until I experienced it in person that I realized how hard it might be. So I would say there are so many people out there finding a place to rent, and there are so many people attending the inspection, especially the ones with perfect location. So for one of the applications I submitted, I even proposed a higher rent, but it was still unsuccessful. So next, I'm going to briefly explain the rental system in Perth, and these are just to my knowledge. The rental system in Australia is quite different from that in Taiwan. In Taiwan, and almost the Asian country, I suppose, a real agent will take you to the rental properties for which he or she is responsible. But in Australia, you will have to inquire first and wait for responses, or simply the agent will announce the opening time for the rental properties, and you need to book them beforehand. In most of the cases, the inspection is required before your application will be considered. The application can be booked in the tenant app, and the application can be submitted online through To Apply system. The application contains different parts, including applicant details, other applicant details, questions, and etc. I would say the most important parts are residential history, financials, and references. And you also need to provide supporting documents such as proof of identification, payslip, and bank statement. In this case, you really need to outcompete others to lease the property. Apart from that, the owner has the final discretion anyways. So upon realizing that it may take time to succeed a rental property and that staying at a hotel could cost a fortune, we decided to find a share house and stay there for a while and keep looking for the suitable rental properties at the same time. So, speaking of the shared house, we inspected 3 of them and finally get to the place that we are currently reside in. We got all the information sources from Facebook group and we had a horrible experience regarding the first one we inspected, for which the owner was looking for a short-term lease. Here, short-term lease, I mean for 2 to 3 weeks, because there will be another person occupying the room later on. So we came over for an inspection at one night. The owner was on Christmas vacation, so it was the son of the owner who showed us the room. Because of the misunderstanding between the agent and the owner requested a higher rent for 2 people. So on this occasion, I would say it sounded reasonable. So we have an agreed rental price, and the owner promised us to reply to us the other day. However, the next day it was a no reply. So we contacted the owner and she asked for an interview via a video call. She asked a lot of questions and she requested to see our passport and visas again, which have already been provided the day before. After back and forth questions and replies, she still couldn't decide whether to rent a room to us. I started to get a bit impatient and told her to cut to the chase. I said, if you want to increase the rent, please be straightforward. And if you want to reject this, please be straightforward as well. Otherwise, you are wasting your time. And then she said, my family's inclined not to rent the room to you, but if you can add another $50 per week for the rent, I'll try my best to persuade my families to do so. At this point, my husband was really pissed off and said, we'd rather pay a higher rent to stay at a hotel than rent a room from you. So I must say, the owner asked for a 1-month bond for staying only 2 to 3 weeks in a room which cannot be locked. Not to mention the location is not very ideal. What really annoyed us is she kept trying to raise the rent because she knew we were desperately finding a place to stay. If we rented the room, in worst case scenario, the owner may try to think of excuses in order to forfeit our bond. What I mean is that sometimes she just got a hunch to leave an unfigurable situation like this. The funny part of this story is that the owner texted my husband to check whether we already have a place to stay, indicating that the person who planned to enter a long-term agreement is not coming anyway. After all, I believe everything happens for a reason. I mean, if it had not been for the unfavorable incident, I would not be able to find a shared house where I'm currently residing. Incidentally, the subletter is really cool and nice. So this is what I experienced in the first month in Perth regarding accommodation. I hope these will provide you a basic understanding if you are planning to come to Perth or Australia to study or for any other purposes. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next videos. Bye.